Okay, great to have Jackie Dillon on the green room today. It's been a while since we've had the show. So Jackie, thank you for breaking the ice with me online.
Oh, my pleasure. It's been a while. You still look the same. I hope I do.
Yeah, I must say, one thing they don't warn you about when you're aging is to actually look after your skin. So for a 20-year-old, I don't look too bad. But Jackie,
You're looking
yeah,
very
just
well.
thank you so much. For those that in the Waveski
Hmm.
world who maybe live under a rock, and for our non-Waveski listeners,
Hmm.
if you don't know Jackie Dillon, then you don't really know the sport. So for the past 44 years, Jackie has been involved and has served on international and national committees, been runner-up in world champs, and has just been such, well, for me anyway, it's been such an anchor in the sport over the years. So, Jackie, thank you so for humbly meeting me. And you were saying
Oh,
you're up
wow.
in
My
Broome.
pleasure. There's no surf. It's sunshine escaping Perth's winter, which for many people would be equivalent to their summer. But it's been pretty cold, so we ducked up to Broome today. We bought my RD and Mary Ellen's Kahlua Softy. So bring it on. The surf is going to be pumping. I think it's half a metre, but
I
it should be
saw
good. It should
I
be
saw that you
enjoyable.
were testing the Kahlua out in a pool. It's what a fantastic little board.
Sea trials.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think we'll get into this later, where Waveski is going. But that inflatable board, I think, is a real gem to the future of Waveski surfing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
Jackie, I'd like to hear more about the Waveski adventurers. It seems
Hmm.
like you are always in some exotic location, whether there's waves or not. Can you tell us more about your project?
Okay. Look, thanks, Bruce. And for anybody who is wanting to have a navigate around and surf the internet, please look up Wave Ski Adventurers. It was something that kind of um, became ordained, I suppose, when I got a bit bored with thinking about the future of wave ski surfing, and that's not to be in any way disrespectful to any association or any club. I just felt that we could do things a little bit differently, and what I mean by that was just not be governed by rules and regulations, but have a think about what we could put back into our sport. So it was about 2 years in the planning, and we weren't trying to be all things to all people, because I think you set yourself up to fail. But certainly the legacy from Wave Ski Adventurers is perhaps a reflection of my own journey with wave ski surfing, and to give back to a sport that's just been so immensely fulfilling for me. And we felt that through a philanthropic arm of my other business, that we could channel some resources, financial and professionalism, and give back to our sport. So it's kind of morphed into something that we never imagined would have ever happened. It's got so many anchors to it, fundamentally born out of the commitment by so many people that we're involved with.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry.
Wow, no, that's quite incredible, and it's the first of its kind that we, I think, seeing coming out of wave skiing, and it just goes to show also how deep your roots have run in the sport. Your
Mhm.
TS is a TSP program?
Talent support program.
Yes.
That's for anybody over the age of 13. People may say, "Well, why did you choose 13?" Look, it's an arbitrary age. We didn't want to be in a position where we could have been accused of child exploitation. So we've opened it up for people over the age of 13. There is no real litmus test. If somebody came to me at 11 and said, "Look, I want to be supported, your talent support program has some avenues for me, then we would look at it. So we've kind of just put in some really good boundaries, and we wanted to diversify and look at people that are in their mid-20s that perhaps thought about wave skiing but haven't, or older people. There's no age limit. So the talent support program is about enabling people to reach their dreams, and it's their dream. It's not my dream. It's their dream. And this can be achieved by applying for funds for equipment. It might be applying for funds to participate in an event. It might be funds that they need for coaching purposes. So the sky's the limit there.
Sure.
And it's growing and developing. We have 9 on our talent support program, including kayak surfers as well.
Yeah, that's, including the kayak surfers, but also just seeing who you're supporting. It's not just the young, it's not just the old, it's not just the talented, it's that wide range. And
it's
that's
everybody.
Yeah. And that, it's just the inclusivity is pretty compelling and exciting, and just shows that whole Waveski family, what we're about. But that's not your only project. You are running the online surf contest, the Odyssey, and that has been, so far, looks like quite successful, with Cyril getting the 10. How's that been on the inside there? Has it been exciting?
Look, I think it has. One of the things that has been really exciting about the Surf Odyssey Tour is that we were only ever really expecting about 20 odd people to join up with this tour. We didn't know how it was going to go. We didn't know what was going to motivate people. People say money talks. That's fine. We wanted to have a level playing field and say, okay, many of you can't travel, so why don't you go to your nearest surf break, take some film, send it to us. We've got international judges looking at it, and we'll put your waves up on a forum, and you can look at it yourself. And I think it's been a huge learning curve for many people. I have no doubts that some people may feel as though they should have been scored higher. There may be others that have felt that the scoring has just been absolutely fantastic for them. So there's no script for this, Bruce. But watching what Cyril did, my grandchildren, 2 of them that are 11 and 9, looked at what Cyril did and said, oh my goodness. And then they looked at Sean Holmes's little children on the Kahlua Softie, and they said, so if we ride the Kahlua Softie, we can end up being like Cyril. And I said, absolutely. You've got to start somewhere. So they've started riding a Kahlua Softie. Sure. So there you go. Yeah. So that's been really exciting.
It's good to hear stories like that. I mean, I remember as a young kid putting posters of athletes, the good cricketers and rugby players, and within our own sport, we have. You just watched the trip to Mexico that the guys did, the French guys. That it's just they are heroes, and how they can pull those maneuvers off. I was one of those guys watching Cyril's wave, going, "Wow, I want to do that one day when I'm big." So it's super inspiring. And has there any other clips that have stood out for you that you would recommend for anyone?
Through the surf tour? Oh, yes. Look, I think, without sounding patronising, everybody who has submitted a clip is deserving of recognition. Sure. I've been watching Arturo Guzman, Victor Bezard, Mark Boyd, Darren Mason, the girls, Oceane, Lucy McQueen-Jones, Emma Fischler, who I met a couple of years in Peru. And she's one heck of a talented athlete. And she went on on a wave ski. And I thought, with the right kind of support, you could really grow and develop, because she's she's talented anyway. And Lou Peters.
Yeah.
There's just such a wealth of and depth of talent. There's Sav Campbell from Australia, and if we see the diversity amongst the people that I've just acknowledged, and some people haven't even heard of some of these athletes. Neither have I. I've had a look at them surf. You know, people think of wave skiing, they think of Reese, Virgil, and Pablo, Nathan Labars, Nathan Eads, and a couple of others, and a handful, and of course yourself. But then you look at the other 70 people who've also put their names down, and there's 98 entries.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Jeepers.
Yeah, I'm really wrapped with that. And what we have done is also for the last 2 months now is offering a one maneuver wave entry. You know, with people that there's a lot of breaks in Australia that shut down very quickly, and you can't really do a lot on it.
Yes.
But that one maneuver can look pretty stunning. So we've extended the comp with that. Yeah.
Okay. So for the Kahlua Softy age group, what do those kids have to do to get a 10 from Jackie Dillon?
To get a 10?
To get a 10.
Okay. Well, we've given them all a bonus point of 3 points. Look, we'll probably relook at their scores. They're a little bit low. We need to give them more encouragement. I think I'd like to see Sean's children, and I think he's got some nephews and nieces that have also put their entry in. And I did talk to Sean and just about the scores, and he said, oh, look, the kids were just really ecstatic to actually be in a world competition.
That's amazing.
And I think most kids are, they don't worry too much about points. It's about participation, and it's who they're surrounded by. And if you've got really good parents that support you, that aren't motivated by their own personal agenda, I think children can do really well. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure it's safe. It's not about child exploitation. So I haven't really answered how do you get a 10.
No, but
I'm
it's
sure
good
about that one.
And then what do you want to see from the ladies division? There's some really strong contenders there.
What I'd like to see them do is to add some diversity. And look, you know, I still compete myself, you know, for obvious reasons. I'm not competing in this event, but I certainly had to think about what could they do differently.
Sure.
And I've asked around a couple of surfing friends, what would you like to see women do? Would you like to see them do things differently? And I think it's about women being able to cultivate and develop their style. Women generally don't surf like men. Okay, there's a different style of the way in which women surf. We're still scored exactly the same, but we do it differently. You know, a case in point, just a bit of an illustration. I've watched Melissa Farthing surf in the Mentawais. And her surfing is off the Richter scale. She's somebody that can really do some incredible bottom turns and ramping back off the white water. And similarly, you know, Lisa Ryan and Tracy Sasson and Sandra Piana, that they've got some really nice styles. But I think women just, there needs to be a greater cohesion. Let's talk about it. Women on waves, supporting each other. The sad thing is we tend to only get together when there's competitions on. Because we live so far away from each other. It's not that simple to have a woman's Waveski Surf Odyssey Tour. That might happen one day.
Yeah,
who
sure.
knows? Yeah. I'd like to see more women there. If anybody's been watching the Olympics, the women just add a little bit more, I don't know, diversity, difference.
Yeah.
We can still do it well. Yeah.
That's I got inspired by my hero, and that's my sister through wave skiing, and she's the one that
Michelle.
Michelle, and she was the one that put me on the board, that looked after me in heats, and I'm thankful for her. And yes, when she surfed, the guys better watch out. But it's nice to see more, especially with the French youngsters coming through, more young women there. Jackie, you mentioned earlier about yes, carry on, please.
Sorry, what was that? The who?
You mentioned earlier about with the Odyssey Tour and the travels like locked down. Do we see Peru opening up next year? How do you guys see it from Australia's perspective?
Oh dear, would I see it from that perspective? Look, I think there's three pillars when we're looking at being able to travel, and that is safety has become number one. And number two is premium surf break. Number three is contest administration. And prior to COVID, Peru offered all of those. Now that we have COVID, I think each and every country has to recalibrate and have a think about what are their three pillars. From an Australian perspective, we won't be able to travel for quite some time. We're basically we can't get into any other country, and it's intermittent being able to travel into New Zealand. At the moment, Australia's got some serious COVID lockdowns in New South Wales and parts of Queensland. The big question is does the World Waveski Championship need to change from what it was to where it needs to go? And that is in no way insulting or rude to the current committee. It's not about the committee, because they can't control COVID, okay? I think what people have to think about is, well, what can we do? Do we have surfing hubs throughout different regions, different continents? And it's something that Waveski Adventurers is looking at, is whether or not we offer a surfing hub, one for South America that includes Peru and perhaps Argentina, and exploring that. And I think there has to be some really good modelling on what other sports are doing. I don't see things changing anytime soon for us to be able to travel internationally. And people possibly don't want to hear that, but it's the elephant in the room, Bruce. We don't see ourselves traveling next year. Is there difference for you in South Africa?
Well,
are you able to travel yet?
Yeah, so up until yesterday, which would have been the 3rd of August, up until yesterday, we weren't allowed. We were battling to get into America. The US had shut us down. France had shut us out. A lot of countries shut South African out because of our variant. So that just goes to show, I mean, it's very hard. There are a lot of countries, and you can do a 10-day quarantine, but that 10-day quarantine, the costs to do that are nearly as much as your flight. So realistically, it's very hard to travel abroad.
So that makes it a very difficult conversation. You know, I went to Peru 2 years ago, and that was just such amazing surf. 365 days of the year.
Wow.
In fantastic conditions. I would go again in a heartbeat. And I feel really sad that this has all happened. We can't get there because it's sensational surf. I have my memories, and for those that haven't been there, maybe they've just got to wait a little bit longer. But I think in terms of competitions, have to really rethink where do we go to from here, and have a think tank. What do people want? Because we're heading up to nearly 4 years since the last World Championships. People are 4 years older.
Yeah.
And maybe they go off and do other things. I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's,
outside of wave skiing.
Yeah, that's what's looking like it's going to become, is what does wave ski look like post-COVID? I think personally, I think a lot of our sport is hinged on contests, national contests, and obviously world titles. That's when we come together, but that's not happening. So are you willing to throw out any guesses as to what it will look like in the future, or are you keeping your cards close?
Look, if I can use my wisdom, peaks and troughs, I think we have an amazing cohort of people that have ideas. It's about collective wisdom. The fortunate thing is that you can surf regardless of a competition.
Yeah.
However, if competition makes people feel good, and my view is that I think we need to have hubs, surfing hubs, and have our, probably expand on our virtual tours that we have at the moment. We will have a conversation at the end of this Surf Odyssey tour. We're big and ugly enough to review it and say what worked, what didn't work, did it go on too long, do we need to change the way in which things happen? I don't think I can see travel for us freely for the next 2 to 3 years. But after that, I think things will really change. I don't believe, and I'm putting it out there, that the world titles as we currently know it will be the same again. It can't. And if that sounds offensive, then I'm really sorry. It's not meant to be. World Surfing League has had to change everything.
Yeah.
And we've just had our part of our Australian Tour Championships canned until the Australian Open because of COVID. And that's really distressing. You know, the Waveski Surfing Australia put in a huge amount of effort to get all of these. There were 5 competitions on for the year. And we haven't been able to have beyond one. It's really awful and quite sad.
Yeah, that's I saw that Facebook post that went out about your contest being postponed, and we're in the same boat. We've had to postpone or cancel our national champs, and we have a contest next month. Whether that's still happening is all up in the air. So the big question is, when do we get to see everyone? When can we do trips? And I think what's exciting is when you see more lifestyle of the wave skiing coming through, not just the contests all the time.
Look, I think we've become really savvy with online training. People have got used to working from home. I sometimes get asked, what did I think about somebody's wave? And they send it to me. I have a look at it and give them some feedback. Look, I'm not Reece Duncan or Virgil or Pablo or Nathan Eads or Bruce Viard. But what I can do is sit back and have a think about what I saw.
Sure.
And does it look exciting, first and foremost? Am I sitting there going, wow, is there a wow factor? Yeah. And give some feedback. Say, look, you've really got to, if you want to have people take notice, you have to have that wow factor.
Yeah.
And because we're not at competitions, you'll have to do it a bit differently.
No, sure. So I think that's exciting.
Just an opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
I think so. We've got over 80 video clips that have come through that we would never have ever received. I don't think we would have got anything like we would have received had we not put it out there.
Yeah.
And a couple of times I thought, should we really be doing this? And then I sought counsel from other people, and they said, yeah, look, go for it.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that can happen? Well, somebody just walks away with $15,000 because they're the only entrant.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, well, look, people are on the map.
Yeah.
It's a prize pool of $15,000, and we can share it out. It's apart from the obvious, the person who wins will take home a bit more. But entry was free. I haven't held a gun to anybody's head to enter.
Yeah. And is this the biggest prize money that's been used in a Waveski contest?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Yeah, it seems so.
I think though back in the 80s they might have had a bit more. Yeah. I guess it's, Bruce, look, I'm 64. And I'm coming towards the end of my competition wave ski life, I suppose, for want of a better description. But the drive to succeed is now born out of making sure that I can be the architect behind something. It's not about the competing. What gives me more excitement now is watching people go for it. Yeah. And so I've really made that transition. I love to surf for fun because I've been surfing since I was 3 years old. The competition has been fantastic. I've met amazing people. I've been in really incredibly privileged positions, and I have learned so much, and it's opened up so many doors for me to travel. And the thing that's really exciting is whenever I'm looking at a holiday, who lives there? Who can I go and see? Is the surf break good? Yeah. And then everything else works around it. But to me, it's about the love of what I'm doing. And hopefully that is a little bit infectious, and so that people can really enjoy doing it.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's something that's coming through with Waveski Adventurers. There's enjoyment. I don't want to say the dreaded word, but politics seems to drown out the fun, and it seems like you're on track with that, keeping it fun.
Yeah, look, I hope so. So we've kind of set up some groups. We're going to have the extreme playground. We're going to have Grommet Central. That's for the little kids. Yeah. And there's a few other little things that we want to do. It's for women as well. It's kind of the women's corner. And then there's everybody else thrown in the mix. It'll be the footpath. So we've kind of worked out over the last couple of years or number of years that you have your extreme athletes, and they really need to be supported. And I'm talking about the ones that actually are right there at the top of their game, outside of competition by what they're doing. And you know who they are. There's yourself, there's Mike Vessels, there's Nathan, Cyril. And the guys in Australia, Reese and Brett and what have you. And then you've got the others that really love to compete but don't particularly want to put their bodies on the line all the time. And then there's the women. I think the women really need to be supported and just get some recognition. And then there's the young kids. They have their own needs and expectations. And you throw all of those age groups into the one competition like a world championship, it's very hard to meet everybody's expectation, because you've got to look at the weakest link as opposed to the most capable, and try and come up with a surf break, a competition that meets all their expectations. And it's not that simple. I think we could really recognise the extreme part of our sport. And certainly that's the feedback that I've got back from people. So if I'm being a bit political, I apologize for that. I'm just saying we have some amazing surfers, and we need to be able to grow and develop them outside of our mainstream competitions that we hold.
Sure. I think you've just put into words feelings I've been feeling for so long. It's true. You know, I remember I took a couple of years off from the sport at one stage, and one of the films or one of the edits on YouTube that got me really interested was I think it was a heat between Mark Osmond and Matt Barberie in Reunion Island on one of the most gnarliest looking left.
Yes.
Boards being broken.
Yeah.
There was really exciting commentary. It was out of this world. But then we also have the other side, like you say, having to have contests on the easiest paddle out beach break. It's hard to try and meet those two worlds in the middle.
Yeah, I remember that I was there in Reunion Island, and there'd been a storm, and they were quite worried about the abattoir that was close by and the and the sharks.
Yeah.
But the waves were huge. They were pretty massive, and that AWWP tour, which was the brainchild of Zaffa Walser, Matthew Babbitt and Carolyn Ashbout, that had some real legs back in 2007, 2008, and it was probably ahead of its time. But my gosh, I went to two events at Reunion Island, one in 2008, the other in 2009. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The surf there was fantastic. But you know, you want to try and orchestrate that now and say, okay, who do you identify as the top riders in the world, the top extreme riders outside of a competition? There are some riders that I think do better outside of a competition per se, but what they do is absolutely off the scale.
Yeah.
And you only have to think of Pablo Aurores.
Yeah.
He, to me, is one of the most extreme wave ski surfers on the planet at the moment.
Sure.
No disrespect to anybody else. And Mike Vessels.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are so many of you guys that are out there.
Yeah. I mean, surfing with Mike, we're about to go on a trip, and surfing with Mike is really something that I don't look forward to, because it's generally in big surf when he paddles out, and it's scary. But it's in those waves of consequence that really also brings out the best in the riders. And it's a shame that we don't have those kind of tours happening. I think offhand, we're probably the only surf riding group that doesn't have some type of world tour at the moment. So to bring something like that back, do you think it's a realistic conversation, especially with COVID?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think if surround yourself with people with vision, and anything's possible. And I think we need to have conversations, Bruce. And for anybody listening to this podcast is to actually have the conversation. And if not, why not? I'm somebody that's always worked outside of the box and asked the question and looked at different kinds of avenues. You know, you may polarize people along the way, but, you know, it is about engagement. Let's have a conversation. What are some of the things about not doing it? And I think, you know, to me, I try never to set myself up to fail. It's always about setting myself up to succeed. And anything has to be planned. This surf tour that we're looking at now, that was probably 14 months in the planning. That just didn't kind of happen overnight. And the stuff that we want to do now, that won't be ordained for a couple of years. because it takes that long to organise everybody. And I think that's where we need to go.
Sure, that's very exciting, and something that for the athletes.
See what happens.
Yeah, sure, and getting sponsors on board and seeing our sport thrive under the spotlight, for once.
Look, it's interesting, Bruce. I was very hesitant to ask for manufacturers and sponsors to come on board. It's not part of my style to go and ask for things. And people who know me know that I don't generally do that. If I haven't earned it myself, then I don't get it. But it was about looking at it from another perspective, and a very wise person in our community said, Jackie, people would really love to support this tour.
Yeah.
If you deny them the chance of supporting the tour, then have a real think about that. And to me, it wasn't denying them. I just hadn't thought about it from his point of view. And I thought, you're right. So I tried it, and I was very hesitant. I wrote to a couple of people and just to tease them out a bit. And you know what? Every single person has come back and said, where can we help? What can we offer? What would you like us to do? And I feel absolutely thrilled that we have 10 sponsors that have come on board. I haven't asked for any money. It was about their product. And and very willingly, knowing how difficult the world is, that people were prepared to support the tour. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show just how excited and committed, the brands are to the sport. And we have some amazing brands that are doing some really cool things and innovating. And I spent some time with Anton Shaping Bay, and these guys, if it wasn't for them and their tireless hard work, full of foam every day, we wouldn't really have the sport that we have.
No, and you talked the other day, is our sport dying? No, it's not. In 1996, when I went to my first Australian titles, people said, the sport's dying. Well, that was 25 years ago. Really?
Yeah.
Virgil wasn't even, I think, was only just born.
Wow.
So the sport has had to grow and develop and go off in a different tangent.
Yeah.
We have far more member nations than what was around in the 1980s.
Yeah.
1980s was generally the UK, New Zealand, the US, and South Africa and Australia and a bit of France. You have a look at all the member nations now, huge. And the diversity. So I don't see that the sport has died at all. It needs to make sure it remains relevant to the population, though, and not get stale. And this is where you have a look at the Olympics. They've got the BMX, they've got skateboarding, they've got surfing, and people like that fast, impulsive, oh my goodness, kind of feeling when they participate. Waveski surfing does that.
Yeah. What do you think about wave skiing in the Olympics? Is that something that is realistic?
Oh, look, I opened up the conversation. It got shut down pretty quickly because of the number of people that you require. And I thought, 72 member nations. Look, it's interesting, Bruce. The Olympics are on at the moment, and I've had a look at some of the sports that are on. I went, oh, really? Really? Do I really want to watch this? But it is about showing off the sports that foster, worldwide community exposure and enjoyment.
Yeah.
I think waveski surfing perhaps needs to look outside of its own internal championships and expand it, get into the beach games. The beach games are on every 4 years, and that's where wave skiing could participate. There's the Masters Games, and then maybe further down the track, certainly not in my lifetime, there may be an avenue for waveski surfing to be introduced as a demonstration sport, which is how surfing got its Guernsey. But there's still that discussion going around, is wave skiing a canoeing background or is it surfing? And this is where we have the dilemma. And I remember being at a meeting in 1999 in Brazil, and there was this great discussion, joining the respective canoe federations or staying with surfing. Depends which country you come from.
Yeah.
Me, as an Australian, I identify as a surfer. If you go to some other countries like France, I think you'll find that they identify as background in canoeing. Well, they've got their canoe association.
Yeah.
And we've got to be very mindful that if we go down a particular pathway, you may lose people along the way.
Sure.
So there needs to be capacity and room to ensure that we can accommodate every member nation and not just go down one track because a couple of people think it's a good idea.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know. We're South Africa at the moment. Are you canoeing or surfing?
Yeah, we're with canoeing. They offer the sport quite a lot. I don't think surfers consider us surfers, if I can be so honest.
No, okay.
You know what I mean? And but myself, I'm a surfer. I surf. I've surfed bodyboards. I've surfed longboards, shortboards, wave skis. We've done surf skiing. So, but for me, I surf. So I hear it's an interesting perspective you give of surfers or paddlers. I also have a paddling background, and I think our paddlers could look at someone like Ann Stott. I think for paddlers on their off season, it can offer up something also really significant and cool for them to get into.
So there is the politics behind having associate membership of the International Canoe Federation, and certainly the relationship with them's been outstanding. And until something different is on the table, associate membership of the ICF is the place to be.
Yeah.
Because I don't see mainstream surfing being able to embrace us as well as what the ICF does.
Sure.
And look, I'm no longer on committee, but definitely the time when I was on the committee, I had a very good working relationship with the ICF, and certainly they've provided some really good support for us. So that's something just to really recognise, and that's when you take out the personal bias about what you think, and you look at collectively, well, what does the world want? What do you actually want? And this is why we need to open up the conversation with all of our member nations and say, well, look, what do you want to do?
I think for many,
and not leave it to.
I think for many that this is probably the first time they're going to be thinking about the conversation, and for others hearing this will open up maybe more of the conversation. People won't be so nervous to speak out or speak out.
That's hilarious. But it's true. And look, Bruce, I'm certainly very respectful. I have a huge amount of admiration and support for anybody who holds any office in any association. It's not easy trying to meet the expectations and needs of everybody. It can be quite a thankless task being on a committee, particularly if you're a competitor as well. That's really, really hard to try and have some transparency and not have a conflict of interest, and to make sure that your interests don't compromise the sport. And that's something that I've always been really quite encouraging of anybody that's in a position of responsibility and decision making. The World Association, they are charged with the responsibility of administration of our sport from a world perspective.
Yeah.
And being able to meet the needs of every single country and being sensitive to their own cultural beliefs and values, you've got to do some homework, and make sure that your own personal interests are not compromising for the good of the sport. I can say that because I've been in that position and I've moved on. And I think it's really important. I think we need to support Gus, Doug, Ian, Nathan, Savannah, Virgile, Clement. I don't think I've left out anybody, and if I have, I'm sorry. It's just been so long since we caught up with everybody. And not be afraid. It's not about having a personal go at someone. It's about saying, guys, what are we going to do?
Yeah, and some of those names you mentioned are doing and have done incredible things for our sport and continue to do so. It's your committees. It's quite a thing. But I was want to jump back. You mentioned, our image surfing. Do you feel that we're moving out of that era where wave skiing is looked down upon and we called egg beaters and windmills and all that? Do you see things improving?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I was in Moffat Beach a couple of weeks ago, and there was an art exhibition on with photography, and I was having a chat to a surf photographer there, and I happened to have a couple of videos on my iPad, and I showed him, would you believe, Cyril Sampson's, and he said, oh my God, I didn't know that this is what you guys could do.
Sure.
And he was really absolutely blown away by what we do. And I think it's not about apologizing for what we do. I'm a Waveski surfer. I'm very proud of that, and I think we need to support that. And if you go in with a very convoluted and negative attitude, that's all you'll get.
Yeah.
You've got to be really proud of wave skiing. And I know you've got this affectionate name, Go Bruce, and that's
you can tell everyone you hate it, Jackie.
Look, if it's said with good intent, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I think we need to be proud of who we are and what we do.
Amen.
And you can only do that by the last wave you've caught.
Yeah.
And because there's so few. Yeah. I belong to the Cottesloe Longboarders Club, and they're old salts, and they've got my sticker on their club trailer, Waveski Adventurers.
Sure.
They've actually done that because I'm out there in the surf. I surf with them every morning. And it's fantastic. And they see me as equal to them.
Yeah.
I just won't get attacked by a shark. They will. They see what I do as really dangerous. They said, how on earth can you stay strapped in and roll yourself back up? But, they're out in the ocean. If you read the ocean, respect the ocean, you respect yourself and you respect everybody else out there, you'll never have a problem. And I think one of the first things I do when I go out into the surf is say hello to someone or say to them, geez, that was a really good wave you just caught. you see their eyes light up and they say, really? And I said, yeah, your mum would be really proud if she saw what you just did.
Sure.
And then the conversation starts.
Yeah. Is that how you paddle onto the inside though? Kill them with kindness.
Look, it goes a long way. If you're going to go out there and dominate every single wave, you deserve to have your windscreen wipers removed or zinc cream on your windscreen. People talk about the selfishness of the sport. Well, I don't see that because that's not who I am. But there are some people that just go out there, they don't care about anybody else. They take every single wave or ruin it for you when you're paddling out. And I just don't have anything to do with them. I go off somewhere else. I've got nice places where I go and surf. I surf with nice people, and it's enjoyable.
Sure.
I love doing what I do. And the people who I surf with are great people to go surfing with as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was having a chat with Nathan Eads, and he was saying in Peru, wave skiing is so unknown that when he rocks up, it's the first time someone's seen the crop, and their interaction with him is the first time that they will interact with a Waveski surfer, and it's a very positive experience. And it just goes to show, like, it's not, we're welcomed, and you don't have to, like you say, apologize for being in the water.
No, I don't. And you surround yourself with positive people. Bruce, it's like any sport. I played a lot of sport over the years. Wave skiing is a passion for me. Surfing is a passion. And it wouldn't worry me if I never went in another competition again.
Yeah.
But I'd be pretty upset if I couldn't surf again.
Sure.
If somebody said to me tomorrow, all your wave skis are going to be auctioned off, you've got nothing, it'd be a very sad day for me. And I'm so very passionate about being out in the ocean. I enjoy it, but not to the point of being over the top, I don't think.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Well, the waves are
have
good.
some fun.
They're blind arm. I got a bad inside eye. So whichever wave was going, the inside eye is quite bad, and I might not see someone. No, I'm just joking. No, but someone like Mike Vessels, he's going to hate that I'm mentioning him, but he surfs super tubes a lot. It's a wave that is heavily localized, no matter if you on whatever board you're on. So that you're on a wave ski is just salt in the wounds for some people. And I must say, his commitment to surfing the wave and the extreme, just the way he attacked it, earned him so much respect from the hundreds of people watching on the boardwalk, and his attitude in the water and what he was committed to. And I think that's what we need more of in the water. And I think that we're seeing that throughout the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I call it the X factor.
Yeah.
What is it that they have that people really gravitate towards?
Yeah.
And it's that appeal. It's, it's infectious. And if somebody is good at what they do and you can see it, it's like poetry in motion.
Yeah.
And you make it look easy, but there is years and years and years of hard work and training.
Sure.
I met Mike Vessels years ago, and he is quite a maverick. But he's also trained and prepared himself. Yeah. And he's earned the respect. I salute him. I think he is a fantastic human being and a really good surfer.
Yeah.
Even when he doesn't win, he laughs and says, yeah, okay, that happened.
Yeah,
and
he's winning a bit too much.
You have to have conversations with people. Oh, is he?
Yeah.
He beats you, does he?
Hurting my feelings.
I like his attitude, though.
Yes.
He says, a better person beat me.
Sure.
And I like that kind of approach. It's not a case of, oh, look, I was injured or I lost. It's about the acknowledgement that somebody else was better than you on the day.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting when you see that response from people. They just get on with it and say, well, look, I can't win everything.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, there's your disappointment. You go home and reflect. People will say, oh, I just needed one more wave, or the judges got it wrong, or this, that, and the other. And I just say, yeah, have that moment, learn from it, move on.
Yeah.
And some people are born to compete, others are not.
Sure.
Others compete for a while and then go off and do other things.
Yeah. And I think that's,
and you know, you have this.
That's one of this with COVID at the moment. It's opened up really cool projects. I mean, we've been talking quite a bit. Some really great stuff that's been happening also behind the scenes. So the landscape is going to be exciting, especially for guys like Mike and Pablo, and who are really pushing the boundaries in big waves and difficult maneuvers. It's cool.
Well, yeah, and I think people need to be able to archive film. You opened up a thread about what people would like to see.
Yeah.
And it was something that we were looking at, women wave skiers. COVID has stopped us being able to travel. It was going to culminate in what we were going to be able to provide in Peru. So we have to think outside the box. And one of those things is to bring all of those video clips that have been submitted in to then put it into some kind of format that there's a backstory to it. And people can say, well, look, in 2021, we couldn't go to a world championship as we knew it, but there were other things that we could do. And I'm not just focusing on the Surf Odyssey Tour. There's lots of other things that are going on. But it is about saying, well, this is what we did this year and this is how we coped with it. And so in 15 years' time, people will say, in 2021, this is what we had to do to get where we are today. And 15 years' time, I'll be, I'm not even going to tell you what I'm going to be. It's a lot older than what I am now. But, yeah.
Awesome, Jackie. And unfortunately, we have to just start wrapping up. But to all your Jackie Dillon fans worldwide, any lasting words from you?
Any words from me?
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have this conversation. I hope all of you might have got something out of us having this little chat, but stay safe and keep surfing. And we'll see you sometime soon. Don't know where, but sometime soon. All right. Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, Jackie. And Jackie, before we log off, I just want to find, where can people find the video clips for the Odyssey Tour and your website?
Sorry, what was that? I missed that. What was that?
Where can listeners find your Odyssey Tour video clips?
Oh, okay.
On your website.
Yep, it's on Waveski Adventurers website. So it's waveskiadventurers.com. Go to the page that says the contest, and you will see the guys' clips, the girls' clips, and the Kahlua Softie. And you can go there and see every single video has been put up of every single wave that people have submitted. So that's where you can find them.
Thanks, Jackie. And thanks so much for this. It's really exciting. And
pleasure.
Let's catch up soon.
We will. Okay. Bye for now. See you.